Hey everybody, Dr. Kevin Hyde here with Pinellasanxietyspecialists. It's day 23 of the 30 days of live videos, and today I want to talk a little bit about parenting books. For anybody who's a parent, you know that kids don't come with instruction manuals, and it's a hard thing to learn when you're just starting out and realizing there's so much that you don't know, there's so much they don't teach you in any courses that you might have taken or that people in your family or at church might have told you about raising kids. You realize that there are so many challenges that are just not talked about ahead of time. And so I think it's helpful to have some resources for when you do feel like you're getting stuck, or in those cases where your child is just more challenging, is having more behaviors or more emotions than you might expect, and nobody else seems to know how to help you. So the first one I want to recommend is by Dan Siegel and Tina Payne Bryson. It's called The Whole Brain Child. And what I like about this book is it, in a really approachable way, it talks about the neuroscience behind brain development and gives you really practical ways that you can help your child's brain develop. And so it goes into ideas behind like the right brain being the emotional brain, the left brain being the logical brain, and how if your kid is melting down, having a tantrum, you can't engage that logical, rational part of their brain until they're able to calm down. So first you show that empathy to them, you help them to calm down by appealing to that right brain side, and then you can go into the logical left brain and helping them understand what they did and how they could have approached it differently. They also talk about brain development in terms of the lower and upper brain. Lower brain being sort of that lizard brain, that primitive reactive brain that we all have, that really is like the anger, the fear, that part of the brain that we all have from birth. But the upstairs brain is that logical part of the brain that allows us to filter ourselves and make decisions. And that part of the brain doesn't develop until we're in our mid-20s, and doesn't fully develop until we're in our mid-20s. And so they go through all sorts of strategies to help you have your child be able to remember the experiences of things that they went through during their childhood, and to really develop that emotional part of their brain to recognize what emotions they're feeling and then how to handle them. So definitely recommend that, Whole Brain Child. Next one I want to recommend is 1, 2, 3 Magic by Thomas Phelan. And this book is just a basic discipline book. When we end up trying to discipline our kids, we all basically follow the pattern of what our parents did when they raised us, some of which we found was effective, some of which we found wasn't very helpful, so we'll either do what our parents did or we'll do the opposite of what our parents did because we didn't think it was very helpful for us. And so the main thing that I think is helpful with 1, 2, 3 Magic is that it talks about the importance of consistency, and if both parents read it, you can be on the same page in the discipline. And the main ideas behind 1, 2, 3 Magic are that when your child is doing something wrong, you want to give them the opportunity to self-correct. And so that's where the 1, 2, 3 comes in. And so you want to not be showing a lot of emotion, so you're not reacting in anger, yelling. You're saying, child, I need you to do this. That's 1. You give them 5, 10, 15 seconds maybe to self-correct if they don't. That's 2, child, making sure that you're looking at them in the eye, that they're paying attention to you. And then if they're still not doing it, 10, 15 seconds later, that's when you say, that's 3, take 5. And so then you lead the child to a timeout place and have them in timeout for typically what they recommend is about 1 minute per year. So if your child is 4 years old, about 4 minutes, 7 years old, they can sit there for about 7 minutes. And during that time, you don't interact with them, you don't pay attention to them. You want it to be someplace safe that they're not going to destroy things, but you just let them be. And then once they've calmed down and the timeout is over, and it can also be helpful to have like a countdown timer they can see so they know when they're getting close to being done with timeout. Then you go and bring them back, and you don't spend a lot of time going over what they did wrong or anything like that. They just come back into the family. And the main thing behind that is, again, that lack of emotion, not reacting in anger, and being very consistent with what the rules are, and counting and then having that consequence for when they reach the 3. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3 Magic by Thomas Phelan. The last book that I want to mention is The Explosive Child by Ross Greene. And this is for children who are really beyond that normal discipline. They're again, the title is The Explosive Child. So this is those kids that the regular parenting methods have failed, and they are just explosive. There's no other way to put it, that they're reacting far more strongly than one would expect for a typical child to react to situations. And so what he talks about in the explosive child is that oftentimes what is happening, and this is usually going to be later, 9, 10, or teenage years that this is happening, because it's these expectations that we have for our children may be excessive, and so over time they're recognizing that they're not able to meet our expectations, and because of that they are reacting far more strongly again than they would have when they were younger, or than we would expect from a typical child. And so the idea is that the expectations are higher than they're able to meet, and as part of that, that they don't have the skills to meet those expectations. And so he goes through all sorts of ways to recognize when your expectations are excessive, and when there is a skills deficit that you can try and focus on with the child. It's very collaborative with the child, trying to work with them, talk to them, involve them in the process of figuring out how you can work together as a team to fix this, because no child wants to disappoint their parents. They don't want to fail at school. They don't want to break the rules. And so he says that the reason they are is because there's not that, they don't feel involved in the process. They don't feel like there's any way that they can meet the expectations, so why even bother trying? And so by helping them, by setting realistic expectations together, by working on building skills together to meet those expectations, it helps reduce some of those explosive behaviors. So that is The Explosive Child by Ross Greene. All right, guys, hope you found that helpful. If you have any questions about those books, please shoot me a message. If you have any questions about anything, of course, reach out. I'd love to chat with you and see about what your child is going through, and if there's things that we can do to try and help your child improve, help you as a parent to find new ways of approaching things since what you're doing hasn't been working. So please reach out. I'd love to chat. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will chat with you tomorrow.